Jeff, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
So if you want to just start, just like let me know, like, and anyone listening, like who you are and like what you do, and we'll kind of go from
Sure.
there.
Sure. So to give a backstory, I teach entrepreneurship. I written curriculums. My background's in behavioral therapy. Um, that's a whole nother story, another day. But I've bought and flipped companies and really done marketing over time. I seem to always, in a good way, paint myself into that corner of doing the marketing for different businesses that I've come in as an investor. I've started businesses. Alpha Media Group, if you add it all up, is actually in my 14th company that I've been involved with. But I started doing my research like I do, and I've come across a lot of gurus and out there in the space. Let's call it your space. I'm getting into that space as well. Maybe if you want to call it influencing or having some influence. I'm not a huge fan of that term, but let's just call it what it is: influencers in the digital marketing and consulting space. And I really like to look at the fruit. And I saw you come out of a program, and I saw you really solve for the program that you were involved with, meaning creating some more fundamentals, which I love listening to motivational talks. I love when people are pouring into me. I love going and hearing a good sermon at church. But then I'm one of this, well, now what kind of guys. Now what? You gave me, now I can't even remember the sermon. It kind of fizzled out of my mind. And now I want to be with the fundamentals. I want someone who's going to show me the tools. How do I actually take what I've learned and applied it? So virtually, I really gelled with you. I saw you taking a lot of that applied knowledge approach. Here's the tools I learned. I don't need to hear 80 hours on, here's an abstract, because I am that guy. I need to surround myself with people that are more brilliant than me in other areas. And you were that guy. I saw you, and I really kind of looked at how you approached it, where you came in at, and really how you solved a problem. And that's how we appeal to people, right? We come in, and that's our job. No matter what you're in the field of entrepreneurship, if you have to really master one skill, you got to be great at problem solving. That's not an expendable skill. You can't be crappy at problem solving and be an entrepreneur. They just don't exist. I haven't seen them unless they inherited something, and we know how those narratives go, right? So seeing that you really helped, and what it helped, because I love diving into different things. My serial entrepreneurship has showed it. I've owned everything from like a peanut nut distribution business to owning a maintenance company, being a contractor, being a real estate investor. So I was all over the place. And coming into AGS and Joshua Harris's program really helped me hone in on, say, who is my target audience? And that was a really hard pill to swallow. It's like I'm in a workout program now. I'm working against the dad bod, but I had to take inventory and say, man, I'm fat. I got to lose some weight. And that's just reality. I'm not afraid of offending others. Why should I be afraid of offending myself, right? But it's one of those things like a GPS. If I'm going to go out and see you in Florida, I'm never going to get there unless I take inventory of where I was. And I was really in a spot in my mind where I was all over the place. My focus wasn't honed in. And listening to your program, going through your program, taking my team through your program, I picked up on direct benefits, but I picked up on what I want to call even the more important indirect benefits, which was learning how to basically frame what I was doing and make it purposeful. And so I started researching you about 3.5 years ago. And I'm hitting that word you because I think branding is a big part that people miss on conversion. I wasn't going to sign up with you unless I've seen you 50 million times. I know that's hyperbole, but I'm consistently consuming the content, and that's purposeful in why you're doing it. But if I saw you once, well, who's this guy, right? But I saw you consistent what you're teaching, consistent what you're saying. I'm like, okay, now I want to jump in. So I talked with John. I vetted you even further. I talked to a gentleman named Anthony out of LA, and I really wanted to hear their experience. So you were the student of a program, and then I wanted to hear from students from your program. And I wanted to hear how their experience was. I get to create content. I get to go basically on tour coming up now with my clients. I'm going to be visiting them in different states and bringing them into my YouTube channel, sharing their success stories. I have clients flying out to Texas. One's driving up from Houston. One's flying out from San Diego. And we're going to hang out and create video. I mean, that doesn't feel like work, but that's my job, right? And so again, it wouldn't have happened maybe as well as it did. Again, chances are maybe I stumbled upon a different way, but credit is where credit is due. coming through the AGS program. And I have a very, very cynical mind. I was raised that way. I was raised atheist. So even coming to my faith, I was like wrestling with things. So for me to even want to be on this call with you, please understand where I started from is I had to see the consistency of what you're teaching matching up. And I looked for dirt, Josh, every direction. I promise you, I found nothing. You've built an incredible program, and you've helped me build my business.
That's awesome. I want to dig into a couple of things you said there. So
Sure.
when we first started, you were kind of trying to define your niche, and your business was at a certain size. What's kind of the before and after of when we started working to where the business is now, just from a size standpoint?
My gosh, I'm not at full disclosure to share the financials. I'd have to have Steve and Ryan on for that, but I can give you clientele, and you can fill in the blanks on how much an average client is. But I went from working with 4 clients, 4 really good clients, to I'm working with as many as 50 to 60 per week. And I was working with 4 clients a month. That was 2019. We're now in Q4 of 2020. My business has doubled twice just since January.
That's awesome. So for you, the things it sounds like that you got out of this was really the refinement, focusing yourself into specific areas of industries, but then also putting automation and stuff into your business. So can we talk about that a little bit? Like, tell me some of the things where automation has made the biggest difference of some of the things that we covered.
Sure, huge difference, because I don't want to do the fulfillment side. I was a contractor, but don't be fooled. I didn't know how to build anything. I just knew how to run the business. And much of my business is the same. I was raised by a grandfather, a building inspector, so I know what a great quality job looks like. I know what a good SEO program looks like, good website, but I had to surround myself with people that were more brilliant in those areas. So I was forced to automate because I knew what the final product needed to be and the continued product needed to be. But I had to surround myself with designers, the people who know how to do it. So we do white labeling. We actually, so that's been a huge thing, working with your business and really being able to fulfill that way. But really now being able to automate the whole process. So there is a problem I'm trying to solve for, which is how do I completely automate the front end? The back end, amazing automation, what you all have, but the front end is, okay, so now how do they go from going online, buying a website, signing up for SEO, have the support that they're looking for? And I saw this with Tesla. Tesla, you can go online and buy a vehicle. You can go online and buy a house that you never saw. So right now, we're in the stages, and I'm piecing this a lot from you, right? Like Michael Jordan, he said I was the biggest thief in basketball, right, so to speak. So I'm stealing your ideas, brother, like in a good way. I mean, paid into the program, but you get what I'm saying. Like, but I'm creating my own model too. And I would think that's what you want. Is I'm not doing things exactly how you set up. I'm doing it very, very much kind of like what you did. You came out of a program and built your own. I'm in your program. We're not going anywhere with you guys, but we're still building and adding some of our own elements onto an already existing process that you guys have built in automation. So I want my clients to be able to have that sort of mom and pop feel support, but with our white label, as much staff as we have, that can be a very challenging process. But we live in a Keurig generation, consumer wise. They want quick, fast, easy. They want it done right, which wasn't my style. You come over to my house for a coffee, we're going to French press some 100% Kona coffee straight from Hawaii. I can't scale that.
Yeah.
I can't scale that. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. There you go. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. So how do I give that really great product experience, but still be able to scale and measure? And so we have kind of like we watch Mission Impossible in the first one, there's a second team. So we have our hired staff, that's the second team, and they do all the quality control. So we talk about it like a restaurant. So our white label, our people that are helping build all of our stuff, they're doing a great job, but we have a certain style to it. We have a certain vehicle or emblem, so to speak, the Alpha Media logo that we're putting on it. So our head chefs are looking over everything that was baked and put together. And then we have people that are points of contact. I had to stop being that contact because I want to run and hug someone and help them and take them under my wing and mentor them. My phone rings for 5 people now. And that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. Like, I am not allowed to talk and call out to our clients that are in existing programs because my staff is there to do that. And that was really hard when we went mom and pop to scalability. But anyway, yeah, I hope that answers your question. That's where we're at. It's a lot of discipline. It's getting down to, this is the one thing I do, and I'm going to learn to continue to do it well.
That's awesome. And so how many employees do you have right now?
Well, thankfully I have to manage none because I'm a horrible manager. So they're probably thankful for that too. So we have employees, actual employees, we have 6. We have independent contractors, and then our white label staff now extends over 450.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah.
And so for you, like, going back in a time machine, right? You said 3.5 years ago is when you first heard about me, right? So
Right.
what would you want to say to him, and to people who are in your shoes, where they're, we have to live in a world of skepticism. The way that the internet has created opportunities, it's created a swim lane for a lot of bad actors in this space.
Yes.
Or people that are, in some cases, well-meaning, but in many cases also even not even well-meaning. And it's kind of, I've described it as it's like a storefront where it's like from the Looney Tunes. It's like a painted tunnel. There's nothing there, but it looks like that, right?
Right.
So it's hard for people to like see like what's real, and what's actually going to work. And a part of that is commitment and follow through on a model by the person. But what would you say to yourself and anybody who's right now watching this, who's like considering, they're on the fence, or like they're not sure if they should look into it more, if they talked, if they should jump in? What do you tell those people?
I would say, first of all, you could reach out to me. You could at least reach out to my staff and they can find me. You can go onto my website, not to do a plug here, but alphamedia.group. And you could find me through there, and I would happily give, testimonial for my process. I would tell them that it's going to be hard. I wouldn't sugarcoat it. I'd say you have to be willing to give up the good to get the great, because a lot of us will hit a ceiling and say, okay, I'm going to, like you've put in your post, like you're speaking to your audience, right? You've hit 10 grand. I look for, and how do I go to 1 million per month? How do I go to 100 million? And I think it's a lot of shedding and letting of your old mindset go. So it is mindset stuff. I love how you didn't leave that out. You focus on fundamentals. Mindset is very elemental. It's quintessential to it. But I like that it brings both together. I'm one of those, watch people's feet rather than just their mouths. One of my favorite stories, the Roger Bannister story. And he didn't say, I'm going to break the 4-minute mile. He said, mankind is. And he did it. And people told him his lungs were going to collapse, his heart was going to explode. It was impossible, but he actually modeled it. So I do a lot of YouTube SEO. So I tore down my old YouTube channel down to nothing 3 weeks ago. And I'm showing people in live time how I'm building up to #1 all over the United States in my space. And so I think modeling is more of what we need to see. And I think you demonstrate that. So there's a lot of noise out there. And I think instead of people looking for the fascination, the pep talk, the P.T. Barnum sort of effect, like, hey, here I am, get rid of all that crap and look at what people are really building. And you have fruit to your program. You have things that people can utilize in application right away. And that's what I like. You got to surround yourself with people that are really good at it. But maybe someone, honestly, maybe if someone is just like you, maybe they do need a little bit of that inspiration, motivational speaking, more heavy on that side. But I still think that's enough within the program to keep people understanding. You talk about something as simple as drinking water, and staying hydrated. I did my first marathon. I didn't hydrate enough. So I'm a testimony for another video on how that was dangerous, So I think when we don't control our mindset, we can put ourselves in a danger zone. But again, I like that for yours, there was a dropping off point. So anybody who's watching this video or considering your program, I think the best thing to do is you're going to make an investment somewhere and you have to make a choice. I think risk is involved in anything, because risk is really stepping into the unknown. And people paid for college. I went to a college that was $100,000 a year, right? I got a scholarship for half of it, but now I step out with this $50,000 debt. I invest in your program, which is, to me, fractional, but 10 times the value. So I think it's a matter of people are really in a shift right now of understanding that it's not about getting a piece of paper. It's walking away with tools that you can use in perpetuity to help build your business. I think that's how college should have been designed. It should have been designed by people like you that understand that getting a degree for 4 years and it being over is useless. It's like getting into marriage. It's like, all right, we're going to be married for 4 years and then we're just going to part. It's like, wait a second, we were building something. So what about a college experience where you go and you invest? It's actually less money. And now you have an ongoing support, accountability tools. You all do updates. So I could go on, but that's really what I would see is juxtapose it with the existing type of educations that are out there. Because education, while I don't find college necessary, college is not necessary in my mind, depending on what field you're going into. But education is absolutely necessary, 100%. So I think that's the biggest side, is the education side, where I've seen some of these other programs. Yours was really the only one I invested in. I looked at a ton of them, and all of them sort of had this dropping off point where you're kind of like, you get out of college and you're like, what the hell am I going to do now? Now I just got to go kind of figure it out. People come to your program because they've already hit that problem. Like, I'm not figuring this out on my own, and that's okay. That was humbling for me because I've owned businesses and sold and done this and that. And I had to come learn from someone I didn't know. Best move I ever made, because where would I be? I'd be scattered. I wouldn't have the business I do now. My team wouldn't have the careers they do now. There's a lot of rippling fruit to this. Your team, they didn't sound like they were pitching me. People don't call and say, hey, let me talk to your best salesperson. Let me talk to someone who's experienced what you've done. Let's talk to somebody who's tech support. They want to hear from someone who knows the fundamentals. So talking with John and Anthony along the way, that was the final step for my decision. So I'd say the more people that you have surrounded with you that are giving testimony to your program, the better, because that closed me. Those guys who I don't see them as like sales guys, and I mean that as a compliment. Like I don't picture them teaching like like what we know, stereotypical sales class, right? They're not Grant Cardone. They're just real people that took something that you taught them and applied it and moved it forward.
So I want to clarify one thing.
Sure.
Get from you is, when you looked at all the other trainings out there and you spoke with other people and you researched it, would you say the biggest difference that you see between what I do and what the other people who are in the agency training space do is they focus on training and maybe even tactical elements of that, whereas I focus on the tactical stuff as well, but with the proper strategy, and then most importantly with the tools and fulfillment infrastructure to help your business grow?
Agreed, soup to nuts, because everything else is a partial program. Whereas you can come into your program and it's really A to Z, right? I could be someone who's brand new, who doesn't know squat about reaching out to someone and making a phone call, to now I have this client that's going to pay me $5,000, $10,000 a month. Now what do I do, Josh? Well, you have those things answered. Those steps are laid out like bricks that you can step on moving forward. So that I haven't seen another program that really does that. I think we are like that in our faith too. We don't want to go to a church that just is heavy on worship. We want to go to one that encompasses the whole thing. And so I think that would be, and I mean that as a compliment, I think that's really the comparative analysis for me, is that I haven't found something from your program that's missing. I think people are going to come out with their own subjective style. They are. I am. I'm doing things in my business that aren't in your program, and that's okay. But I'm doing things in my business that are in your program. There's nothing in your program I felt like you said, this is the only way or you're screwed. I think you create that A to Z, but there's also buffet things that we can draw from. Okay, I want to have a funnel for HVAC, right? I want to go into insurance. I want to have someone taking care of this client as far as a website. There's things that you offer that I haven't seen. If they do exist, I haven't seen it, but I think you hit it really well.
Yeah, I think the way that I've been thinking about it recently is really, when you're building your business, you have three components. You have your marketing, which is like getting people, drawing up that interest and getting out in front of people. And you need a strategy and tactical things for that. Then you have a sales process. right? It's like, what's that process that you're going to take people who don't know you through to that point where they paid you, right? And then the last part is that fulfillment piece, which is after they paid you, how do you fulfill on that promise of the sales and marketing so that they're happy and they stay and they keep paying you, because you're, for the most part, in a subscription business. And what I saw was these things, you're kind of left trying to piece these together. And if the sales, marketing, and product are not connected, I've seen marketing systems that they're like, oh, we can book you calls. It's like, well, under what pretense, under what context, right? And then you get the phone, and then how do you adapt a sales process to that? And then the thing that you're selling, how do you adapt the fulfillment process to that? And there isn't a way, you as an individual going out and trying to piece that together, that's a really difficult thing. You're taking pieces from 3 IKEA sets, you're trying to assemble, and that's the recipe.
That's the truth. Yeah, I agree. So I think what you're doing, I think it's not just your program, but I think people need to look behind the program and look and see, well, what is Josh doing to create this? And you've created a successful business model. So I think that's the indirect stuff I was kind of talking about, watching how you created and put this together. And that's why now I'm sitting in position number 3 in my business, because I am the brand person. I'm the sign spinner for the restaurant. I'm not in there cooking, creating stuff. I'm creating the sizzle. I'm bringing in people. I'm showing examples of how you build from 0 to 1 on SEO, 0 to 1 on YouTube. And that's where I think in this noisy space of digital marketing is be genuine and have incredible systems or you're screwed. I think that's my professional analysis of it, because you need both. You need both.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you sharing your story, and
Yep.
I'm sure this will be helpful to a lot of people and insightful.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Have a good day.